made a video in a really long time, so I'm going to do a video today. We are going to convert an Explorer throttle body to work on a Fox body. So I took the liberty of sandblasting my intake and cover plate here off the 86. That's going to eventually go on to my Explorer intake. So if you guys saw my video I made quite a while back on the Explorer intake, you know that this guy flows about the same numbers as a standard GT40 and Cobra intake. So it may not be as pretty as a Cobra or tubular Cobra. It does flow about the same numbers and is a significant upgrade in what we are currently running on the 86. So whenever I do get some heads put onto the car, this will be the intake of choice for me until I want to spend the money on it. But anyways, I have a buddy who has a sandblaster, and he asked me if I need anything sandblasted. I said sure, take the intake. And we got the lower intake sandblasted and ready for paint, so it looks really good. I do need to wash it before I paint it, but notice that it is nice and clean. He couldn't get into the crevices there too well, but the surfaces are really nice and clean, and it actually shows how the casting really could be cleaned up in these ports here. But this thing looks pretty much brand new. It's ready to go. So the lower intake cleaned up really well. The surface is super nice and clean, and this will give me a nice, ready for a nice coat of paint when we paint it Ford gray. The upper intake, same deal. The plate cleaned up very, very well. I don't know if you guys remember the plate on the car, but this will be ready. So we're gonna go ahead and probably paint this black and machine polish up the fins and the logo and the 5.0 emblem here. This didn't clean up too well. He had a hard time with the paint. This paint is pretty hardcore from Ford. And the sandblasting material he uses is pretty much a paint prep sandblaster. It's not exactly meant for blasting hard paint off. It's just meant to prep things for paint. So it's a lighter material, lighter media, but it did a really good job blasting the surface area here. So it looks really good. Just one thing we have to do is make sure we clean up all the material out of it. Same with the bottom. So you guys notice a significant port size in these things. It's obviously quite a bit larger, and the paint looks pretty good. I'll probably scuff it up with a good Scotch-Brite pad and lay down a layer of Ford gray and a coat of clear on it just to spruce it up a little bit. But we're not working on the intake today. We're not even going to install it. What I want to talk about is throttle body. So right here I have an 87, the stock 87 throttle body. I know that because of the part number here, E7 SEHB. This is an 87 throttle body. It's a stock Ford Fox body throttle body. Over here is the Explorer throttle body. This came on the entire setup with the Explorer intake that I got online. The Explorer intake has a different elbow here for its EGR spacer. This is essentially the EGR spacer at a 90-degree elbow that we won't be using. I'll be using the BBK throttle body spacer. It's 65 mil. So we're going to go over the measurements here in a second, and there's something kind of important here. But what we are going to do today is make this work on the Fox body. Notice the size difference. So let's go over the sizes real quick, right? You can visually see the size difference here. So what you want to do is make sure your throttle body matches the opening of your intake. You don't want it smaller and it makes it large. If it's larger, it's not going to matter, or it's not going to make a difference because your bottleneck is going to be at the intake anyway. So ideally you want the EGR plate or block, EGR block, spacer block, and the throttle body to match the opening of your intake, your upper intake manifold. So I measured it, and this guy measures out at right there, and if you can see that on there, it measures at 70 millimeters. So the stock Ford Explorer / GT40 intake opening is 70 mil. When we go over to our throttle bodies here, .65. So you notice this is a 65 mil, and this is the Explorer throttle body. Since it did come off that, it should be 70 mil. Okay, and it is. So this throttle body is obviously bigger than this. Now you can obviously get an aftermarket one, guys. The aftermarket ones are going to run 180, 190 for the BBK. I've had AccuFab in the past. I had one on my lighting, and they're not, the quality's top notch. They're awesome. It's close to $300, so I mean, I may eventually go ahead and get an AccuFab throttle body once it gets nicer parts on it. But I had this; it came literally free with the intake, so I figured why not try to use it. Also, because I have this spare throttle body that has already been drilled here and tapped there and on the other side here for nitrous. So I don't want to say it's wasted, but it's definitely a good candidate for a swap. So let's go over the differences in these two and why I can't just bolt this on and go. Because typically you guys are thinking, well, just bolt it on and use it. Well, no, can't do that. I'll show you why. Okay. From the top, these throttle bodies are very similar, if not exactly the same. You can see that the machine cutout and the shape of the throttle body itself is the same. Of course, it's a little bit wider, and there's some small differences, but obviously the big noticeable differences are going to be the elbows here. So on the Fox the Fox body, throttle body, the elbow is going to go straight 90 degrees out, whereas this one is 90 degrees straight up. So we're going to want to take this, heat it up, and we're going to have to rotate this just to make the intake ports match. So top wise, they're the same. Let's flip them over. Now, despite the fact that this seat needs a super amount of cleaning, it's visually the same as well. Same bolt pattern, same dimensions in and out, so this will obviously bolt on. Let's look at some differences and why this does not work. Okay, this is the view from the side. Now, this is why you cannot bolt on the Explorer throttle bodies to the Fox bodies, because the linkage is in a different spot. This will not work. This is being pulled from a different angle and a different linkage than the Fox body linkage is. So the linkage is going to be different. So these need to be modified. I've seen a lot of guys actually take the throttle bodies and actually they'll go to the extreme amounts of actually going through, unscrewing these, pulling the shaft out, keeping the throttle butterfly in the 70 mil, and actually swapping this shaft, which includes the throttle linkage. So this is pulled out and then moved into this throttle body. Now to do that, you have to do some machining, and you'll have to do a little bit of grinding on this area on the shaft to make it fit here, or maybe it's vice versa. But I looked at that and I immediately thought, why bother with all that much work when all you really have to do is switch these two arms? So that's what we're going to attempt to do. I'm going to actually grind down the head on both of these throttle bodies. And looks like I actually may be able to bend that out, but we're going to grind these down so we can actually slide the linkage off, and we'll just do a linkage swap. Another thing I want to do is try to clean this up a little bit, because obviously this has seen better days, and what I may have my buddy do is sandblast this once I'm done with it, but not the inside of it. So notice that this one has a sticker on it that says do not clean inside a throttle body or just a hard stop screw, because special coating is on it. So these do have a e-coating of some sort, or maybe some sort of a rubberized coating that's on these to try to keep the carbon from building up and helps to keep it from sticking here. It's like a Teflon type coating, I guess. But so we're not going to go hardcore and clean this. We're going to get some of the carbon deposits off and clean up the throttle body, throttle blades on it, and yeah, let's see how nice we make it. First, I'm going to take off the throttle position sensor, because this needs to be out of the way for us to do any work on it. And also, these throttle position sensors connect to the throttle butterfly's shaft on it, and actually rotate with the shaft of the throttle opening that connects to the throttle pedal, or throttle cable. So you can see that's how it actually adjusts, and this is just an actuator or a resistor. And anyways, I don't know what they call it, but it just adjusts, and that's what tells the computer how much the throttle is open. These are adjustable. You can actually rotate these and adjust them to get the voltage correct on them. So I don't know if this is going to work or not with the Fox body. I don't think it is, but we're going to keep it. Throw there all the other stuff. Okay. Now I'm going to try to not, this does say that the throttle adjustment is stopped already, so we're going to try to not mess with the stop screw on it at all, and we'll keep that in the same place it is now. And the first thing we need to do is get this off and see if the shaft removes. I got the throttle body here in the vise, and I've got it just on the tab here on the flange, and we don't want to obviously crimp on the outside of it or do anything that must mess up the inside of it or pinch it and crimp it and warp it, so just kind of lightly have it just snug on the mounting flange. We're going to plug in our grinder with a sanding wheel on it, and I'm going to gently round off this top piece here until we can get the shaft out. And the idea is once it's replaced, I'm going to do a tack weld on here and keep the new one from the old throttle body off on this one. So let's take it off. Okay, so I got this thing ground down here. There's no visible, really, indicator that the shaft has been removed from this at all. It looks to me like it's still pretty solid in one piece. So I'm going to try to tap on this lightly here, I guess, and see if we can get it to pop out from the shaft. Okay guys, sometimes I'm just not as bright as I look, and most of you are like, no shit. But probably help if I take the damn butterfly out. This shaft is not going to move until I take this out. So let's take the butterfly out and see if we can't wiggle the end piece I just ground off. Okay. That gets both screws out. We don't want to lose these guys. The throttle blade is going to come out. Just like this. Make sure you keep the orientation the same, obviously. You want a part of this hole, I guess, be up. This is going to be up. It's going to be like this. So it's going to be basically in like this. But anyways, take a picture, guys. Okay, so now that this is out, the idea is hopefully we can slide the shaft out here. And another thing we're going to do is when you do this, the spring is obviously going to come out and try to unwind on itself. So maybe what I'll do here before we let the spring go is just hold it back with something and then tie it back. That way it kind of holds the spring back and doesn't go flying on us. See, now it's just held in place. So now the shaft should just slide right out. And it's got some O-rings on it here. Okay, so notice these O-rings in here. This is also supposed to keep the carbon and obviously the air tight between the throttle blades. Any leaked air that's coming past the throttle blades is going to cause an idle that's not being read by the engine, or it's not expected by the engine, so it can cause high idle, whatnot. So you want to make sure this shaft is actually in pretty good shape. Doesn't seem to be pretty worn out. Okay, so now that it's disassembled here a little bit, I did notice that this is actually turnable, so we can actually make the elbow match the Fox elbow. And in fact, what I'll probably do is pull it out. But you can rotate with enough force. Mine rotated no problem. And what we could do is try to pull it out and clean some of the carbon. There's a lot of carbon buildup in here anyways. This is a good vacuum source, so I'll try to probably heat this up and see if we can't pull it out. But now's a good time to clean it. I don't really know what I'm going to clean the inside with. Maybe some soapy water. Again, I get to put this part in my wife's sink, but maybe some soapy water. I don't want to get that coating out. This one looks like it's been cleaned pretty well with a Scotch-Brite. It's got a nice round pattern to it. Now the fear is if I clean it with a heavy detergent or a brake throttle body cleaner. In fact, I may just have to go get some throttle body cleaner. But a heavy duty brake cleaner, we don't want to start etching off the coating that's on the inside of here. What it'll do is it'll create a gap between the blade and the body itself and actually create a vacuum leak, so we don't want to do that. So we need to find a way to clean this up a little bit, get the carbon off of it without eating the coating. Okay, so for the outside of this thing, I'm going to take a Scotch-Brite pad. This is a decent job of getting the surfaces cleaned up. Coming back from the polishing wheel, I'd say it cleaned up pretty good. In fact, it looks pretty awesome. Of course, I can't get into these areas through here with a buffing wheel, so all your flat areas here are going to look pretty good. So I got the surface pretty clean. We still have some carbon I got to clean up in here. But yeah, I'd say it looks a world of difference. I'm probably going to do some more hand polishing since I'm on a roll here, and just get a little bit more of a mirror finish out of this, and then we'll try to switch the shafts and make this one functional, hopefully. Okay, now the throttle body is, I guess, clean enough. I'll go ahead and try to get the shaft off so we can replace the shaft. What I did was place the shaft in the vise, and I'm hoping that a few taps of this and the shaft's going to come off of this, but we will see. There it goes. Okay, so this is going to pop out with a spring. That. Okay, so here's the old piece, and we've successfully removed the shaft. So what we'll do next tomorrow is go ahead and get the shaft off this piece here, off the 86, and made it to this shaft, and we'll put everything back together. Fast forward 1 week later. So last time I left you guys was actually a week ago, so we went on vacation with the family. I'm back now, so where we left off was the throttle body here. So I got the plate in and just kind of got it sitting there, and this is the old one. So the next step is to go ahead and grind that off and pull this shaft out, place it onto this one. So we're going to do the same thing we did with this shaft. I'm going to hold the spring in place with a zip tie or with a trash bag wrap tie thing, little wire, and then we'll grind this off and try to move the shaft over. So let's do it. So the spring has been zip tied, so it's just kind of held back that way. I'll show you how to try to pull it off. The spring doesn't shoot forward, so I'm just holding the tension on the spring, that's all. So anyways, we're going to get this top piece ground down. Okay, you can start to see the outline of it once you bend it up a little bit, and you can kind of start to see, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but you can start to see the little outline of where the shaft was bent onto the piece here. Let's see if I can get a better angle here. Okay, you can sort of see it now, hopefully. It's real shiny, so there's obviously a lot of reflection on it, but if you look closely, you can see the outline of where the shaft met the throttle bracket and it has been folded over to create a nice bond to it. So we're going to try to pound this out now again. Now this isn't going to move because of the throttle blades. So I do want to remove the throttle blades first, but all I'm doing here is just trying to jostle this top piece loose. So technically we could, I guess, you know, hammer it down. I'm just trying not to like bend out this flange here. Take the butterfly out here. That's actually too easy. Makes me wonder if this has been off before. Okay, so that's out. Let's place this guy back up on the bench here. On the vise. Get it nice and snug. Now I don't want to damage this piece. This is the piece that's going onto the shaft of the Explorer. See, that comes out now. Let's see if it can go down. There it goes. There we go. This is off. We want to make sure that we don't let the spring shoot out. Hold it in place where it's at. Move her back here to the throttle body of the Explorer. We'll put it on end. And we will slide it on like so. Make sure everything lines up, which is going to be obviously make sure the orientation is correct. And notice how this thing just wants to slide all over the place. Let's see here. My throttle blades. Just go ahead and take it out, make it easier here. There we go. Okay, so it's in the first section of the bracket. Let's push the spring up. Just kind of twist it through here. Come on, man. Okay, I can see you kind of binding in here. The spring does not want to stay straight. There we go. Now it's just a matter of lining up the groove here. And we're going to tap it on a hammer. Okay, so you can see that is now flush. So next thing I'm going to want to do is let's go ahead and slide it into the throttle body. And that's how it's going to go, guys. So as soon as I release the spring here, or this pin here, in fact, let's go ahead and do that. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so there we go. So we've got the shaft has now been swapped over to the Explorer, and we've got nice play like you would expect. And the throttle bracket has now been correctly positioned. So what we're going to do is get this nice and flush, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a weld here, and it'll never go anywhere ever again. And let's go ahead and put the butterfly on and make sure everything moves freely, because right now there is some side-to-side play, and that'll happen until you get the throttle blades in. So first I'm going to go ahead and just lightly put this up against the vise and tap it on again, just to make sure that it's solid. Okay. Obviously don't hit that too hard, guys. You don't want to bend the section that goes into your throttle position sensor. Okay, now let's go ahead and bolt that blade back in. So we're going to kind of center this up right there. Okay, guys, I went ahead and locked down the throttle blade, or screwed it down here. The butterfly valve, it's nice and tight. I do intend on cleaning the back of the butterfly, so I'm going to take this out again. And while I'm at it, I'll put some Loctite on these bolts. So you can see though everything's bolted in and done, and works correctly. Opens without any binding. So the last step to do is just to tack weld this guy together here. We'll get it nice and smooth. Put a tack here. That'll lock the throttle body in place, throttle blade in place, and then that's it. So let's go ahead and weld this guy together, and yeah, we'll call this guy done.
Are no strangers in a place ridden with greed, cause all this world wants from you is to watch you fucking bleed.
Okay, so not the, I guess the prettiest weld, but it's gonna hold that shaft in place, and it still moves freely, and it's really hot. So see if I can get a wire wheel, clean that up a little bit, and should be done. Okay, make sure you don't lose the bushing that goes in the, or the sleeve, I guess it is, that goes between the throttle body position sensor. And that's it, man. I'm going to throw a little bit of paint on the top of this bracket here and blend it in. So that's it. This elbow does need to be cleaned out. It's got some carbon buildup, so I'm probably going to go through here and you know, clean it out a bit. But pretty much once the carbon's cleaned out of here, I'm going to disassemble the screws here, kind of clean up the blade a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and put some Loctite on the bolts that go into your butterfly to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But that pretty much is it, man. That is, in my opinion, the best way to convert a throttle body from an Explorer to work on a Mustang. This doesn't hack up the throttle blade, it doesn't screw anything up, and this positions it, puts it in the exact same spot as it should be. Now, is it going to work? It should. I mean, it's mechanical throttle body, so it should work. There's still going to be probably maybe some adjustments you want to go ahead and set on your blade or on your butterfly, and then set your idle like you normally would with your throttle position sensor. But now that we have this, next step is to take this to a machine shop, go ahead and get it bored out to 70 mil. I think that should be cheap. Once this is bored out, we'll have a matching 70 mil EGR spacer and throttle body. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to stick on the GT40 intake. So, man, that's it. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, more to come. Hopefully there'll be a lot more to come since vacation's over and I got some more time. So, cool. We'll see you guys later.